So here we are at the launch for the 2013 MX Nationals, the 2013 Monster Energy MX Nationals. Kevin Williams, I shouldn't leave that out. Kevin, great to be here, mate. Let's, it was interesting to hear you talk about the series there, some really positive steps for the year ahead, but just give us a bit of a summary of the sort of big changes for this year's 10-round series.
I guess the big changes really are the fact that we're going back to the traditional format. Some people will love that, some people will hate it, but it's what we've decided to do. We've surveyed all the people, we've talked to all of our partners, and we're going down that path. I guess the addition of the GoPro Super Pole, that's certainly going to throw the cat amongst the pigeon. And I guess when you look at qualifying in motocross, you get the first pick of the gate, but sometimes that could be a disadvantage because that allows your best competitor to go one spot inside you. And you look at all other forms of motorsport, you're set back on a grid. You're in the front row of the grid, the second, third, fourth row. Now there's championship points up for grabs, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the top 5. So qualifying is important. You've got to get a clean lap. You've got to get into the top 5 at the end of the first qualifying session. Then you go out for Super Pole. So it's just going to add another element to it. I think it'll be interesting. I know, already talked to other promoters around the world going, hey, that's a great idea. Let's see how it goes. We're not chicken to have a crack. We haven't been in the past and we're having a crack again.
And those points actually, count for the overall in the day. So it's going to be pretty significant.
Look, it certainly is. When you go to a two-moto format, and we've seen it plenty of times, history has shown that you go, 1-3 and somebody goes 3-1 and he wins the day. Well, what did he do better than the guy that went 3-1 as well? So now those qualifying points really probably will help determine that difference out throughout the series and the day.
Look, well, I think we've said it probably the last couple of years, and the Americans always say it, greatest series ever, it's going to be the best. But you're quite right, in a lot of ways on paper, I think you're saying there's sort of a dozen guys in the MX1 class who are, in with a show to actually, legitimate show to sort of win races and possibly the series.
Look, I really think so. When you look on paper this year, every factory team has got 2 riders in the MX1 category. We haven't had that in the past. So you've got 10 guys there on factory teams. Every single team has got at least one rider who definitely is a championship contender, and their second riders, if you like, some of them are championship contenders, but all of them are capable of either winning a moto or being on the podium for a round. Then you add in, Ty Simmons, Cody McAfee, Daniel McCoy. That's just 3. Jake Moss. Now we're at 14 riders. That's a lot of depth, and I think that's what's really going to help us capture the people around the world with what's happening in Australia.
Coming back to the formats again for a moment, I guess the emphasis over the last 3 or 4 years very much about the sprint formats and focusing on what you're going to deliver for the spectators, but just sort of give us a bit of an idea about the impetus behind coming back to the more traditional formats, that being a 30-minute plus 1 for the Open and a 20-minute for the lights.
Well, there's a couple of, it's 30 minutes for the lights, it's 20 minutes for the under-19s, but the reality of it is we've got a lot of depth. When we changed to go to the shorter races, we didn't have depth. We had Jay Marmont winning almost every moto. We've got a lot of depth now. The point score system has been changed this year and it plays back to 30th. So in the past, in a 30-minute moto, if a guy sort of was outside the top 20, he was feeling it a bit, he went back to the pits and got ready for the next one. Well, now there's a reason to stay out there. You can have a bad first turn crash, get up, work hard, and you'll get back into the championship points. So that's going to add another element to it. You're not going to see people bailing out, at the 20-minute mark because I'm not in the points. I think that'll add to it. I think the fact of the matter, the depth of the field will certainly add to it for the crowd. And that's why we put the Super Pole in. I personally believe in the short format. I love it. I think it was exciting. But, we want to put in the extra support class. We wanted to go away from 2 days back to 1 day to help with the affordability for privateers. There was a number of factors in laying out how a day was going to look that we had to consider, and doing the longer moto format really tweaked in to fit together with that.
Let's talk a little bit about the exposure for the series. Obviously a lot of media turnout here today for the launch, but during the season you're not going with live TV, you're not going with television. You had a television package a couple of years ago. Just tell us a bit about the live stream efforts you're putting together this coming year, or this year.
Last year we did our partnership with Tag Heuer and we had live streaming of the timing. That will still continue. But this year, in a new partnership with a whole new brand that launches in April called mysportlive.com.au, you'll be able to go to the website. They will cover many sports as they grow, but in this partnership, and we're the first sport to be a part of it, is that you'll watch on Saturday afternoon the Thor bench races. We'll get the Craig Dax, we'll get the Jeff Lees when they're around. Ray Vandenberg, we've already booked him 30th anniversary of Mr Motocross to come and talk about their sport. So Saturday afternoon from 3 p.m, live on the net, a 1-hour show from the track, looking at the insides and what's about to happen. Then Sunday morning from 8:30, as soon as we start practice and qualifying, We will have our commentary team talking about what's happening out there. We'll actually have a camera bringing you footage, much the same as we're seeing out of the US with the Monster Energy Supercross now, the 3-hour show before the game. We're going to be doing that here in Australia, taking it, the people in Perth that can't get to the round, the people in Tassie where we don't go to, they can still be a part of this championship, see it, know about it on the day.
Is there a danger that sort of gives people a reason not to rock up at the events themselves?
Look, I get there's always that danger with live, but you know we're not doing the racing live. That's part of the reason we're not doing the racing live at this stage. You know, maybe cool them if everything works. And technology being technology, we've got to continue to work to make sure all that works before we make too many big promises. But our aim and passion and drive is to try and have the final moto of the championship, just that one final moto of the championship, the decider, broadcast live if we can get to that point by the time we get to Coolum.
Up there in Coolum, where we got a new sponsor, and talking about new sponsors, it was interesting. Few out of industry iconic brands you mentioned are getting involved with the series this year. Yeah, look, it's really awesome to have such an Aussie iconic brand in Holden come on board in a new 3-year partnership as the official vehicle of the championship. And when Holden are going to be working with us, we'll be visiting dealerships with the new Colorado, and it'll be all signed up. We'll be talking to their consumers and their customers and introducing them to the sport of motocross. So it gives us an opportunity to talk to a whole new audience, certainly in regional areas, to engage those kind of people. So we're really excited about that as well. I guess last up, Kev, a bit of a change. A few of the old circuits coming back into the championship this year. This being one of them here at Raymond Terrace. Bit of a take stock on the demographics of certain tracks you've been to, where it's maybe been difficult to pull a crowd given the lack of sort of population density in some of those outlying areas. Yeah, look, that's certainly been part of it. Also, obviously, going down the path of doing more with the social media, more with live streaming, you've got to be close enough to places where you can get good reception. You know, Coonabarra brand, whilst it's a fantastic track, you don't get mobile reception there. We can't, all the technologies that our consumer and fans want, whether it's live timing, whether it's live streaming, whether it's the Instagram updates, all those kind of things that are part of what an event has to be today, can't be done at those venues where you don't have reception. So we've got to analyse that. Of course, the demographic, you've got to get to the crowd. It's harder now. There's much more competition to get the punters to the track. So, you know, we're looking at all of those elements when we lay out the calendar now. I'm certainly looking forward to the season, mate. As a shadow of your former self, I think you said you were heavier than you are at 14 years of age. You were heavier than you are now, mate. But brought a bit of energy back into the equation. Great to see you tipping that enthusiasm into the sport, Kev, and really look forward to the season ahead. Andy, thanks very much. As always, we WM, we're 100% committed. This is our 17th year. We're working on a number of other big events and initiatives that we'll work towards, hopefully announcing throughout the year. So look forward, stay tuned to Transmoto. They'll bring you heaps of updates from the motocross.